its arms, feet, and legs inside of the truck at all times. I know, it may be tempting to stand up, but even if you're having a little trouble seeing an animal, please remain seated. That is for your safety. As we make our way through the reserve, you can use this animal spotting guide above your head to identify the animals, but of course I will identify them for you as well, tell you about their adaptations, their behaviors. But if there is anything that you are curious about and you want to know, do not hesitate to ask me any questions. I highly encourage it. I look forward to your questions. Now if you're all the way in the back there and you can't get your question out, no worries, save it to the end and come on up. We'll have a little powwow at the end and I will tell you anything that you want to know, so feel free to ask any questions. We've got quite a bit of ground to cover, so let's get going. We're starting off our adventure today in the Little Ituri Forest. Oh, we're having some good luck already.
Christopher.
On the right.
Christopher.
That is an okapi. They look so velvety.
Wow.
They're so pretty.
Pretty.
Also look like they're wearing zebra pants.
Yeah, I think he's wearing zebra pants.
Don't let that fool you. They're not related to zebras. Who knows what it is related to? Giraffe. Exactly. One person did their homework. Nice. Yeah, they are related to the giraffe, which is kind of bizarre. Doesn't really look like one, but they do have some key similarities. The skull structure. Notice the little things on top of his head. Those are ossicones. Giraffes are the only other animals that have those. They're a part of his skull. And they both have tongues long enough to lick their own eyeballs. I know, it's super fun. Sometimes they'll like sling it back and use it as a fly swatter. It's fantastic. That's very important for helping them as they're snapping their way through the forest. I love okapi. And they are notoriously shy. Sometimes people call them the ghosts of the forest. It'd be very tricky to spot, to see one out in the open like that. It's spectacular. Oh, there's a rhino down here. Okay, left side, across the water. Yeah, they active too.
Wow, that was
I know this
so
doesn't
easy.
look super active, but for a rhino, this is pretty good. So that animal only eats leaves. Imagine just eating salad and weighing 3,000 pounds. You gotta eat a lot. So eating is what most of these animals are doing constantly. And yeah, same. They're also on high alert. Notice the ears on that rhino. And they're pretty big. They're always kind of rotating around. Having good eyesight is not nearly as important as having a good sense of hearing when you live in a dense forest. So we're going to see some jumbo-sized ears, not only on the rhino to the left, but on this beautiful greater kudu to the right. How pretty is she?
Oh, there's two.
Okay, so the greater kudu, that's the tan one, and then there's the bongo, that's the orange one right
Oh
there.
yeah, bongo. Right here, look at the bongo.
Look at those ears working hard. One of the most unique features we'll see with the bongo is the horns. Well, they're angled backwards, so when they run through the forest, they can knock out low-hanging branches and get around more efficiently. A couple more bongos and another kudu on the left. So you might be thinking, well, the kudu, they don't have any horns. How do they get around? Well, they're good jumpers. If that kudu jumped right now, we could see her feet at eye level. And that's just because they are not specifically adapted to a forest. We will find them here, but they can live in a variety of different ecosystems. So, kind of got a catch-all adaptation. Super cool. All right, so we have seen an okapi, a black rhino. We've seen a couple greater kudu and some bongos. Let's see if our luck continues as we start heading over to the Safi River. Okay, there's a hippo over your right shoulder, but it's really tricky to see, so if you don't get a perfect view, Hakuna Matata, no worries. We're gonna head a little farther down the river. See if we can find some more. There's a bunch of black vultures on the right side. Oh yeah, okay, I see a couple hippos on the left, down kind of past this island. Oh yeah, there they are. Here's some hippos. So you don't tend to see hippos anywhere but the water unless it's the middle of the night, because they're nocturnal. Who would have thought? You come out at nighttime and graze along the banks, otherwise they just like hanging out in the water. Some big pink-backed pelicans on that island. Oh, look at this one. Well adapted to life in the water, eyes, ears, nose are all on the very tops of their heads. Now they can stay down there quite a while. They can hold their breath 8 minutes at a time. And even when they're sleeping, they will pop up and breathe without waking up. It's awesome. It's like a reflex. All those birds are completely safe near these hippos. Hippos only eat plants. There are actually some birds, like those black vultures that we saw, they will eat the old skin and insects directly off of the hippos. Yeah. Keeps the hippo clean, gives that bird a meal. It's a great symbiotic relationship. Now if I were a bird, I'd want to be a little careful. There are some predators here. On the left side there are Nile crocodiles. I know they're not moving around at all, but I promise they are real crocodiles. The thing is, these are reptiles. They're ectothermic, and that just means they can't make their own body heat like humans do. Their body temperature is going to fluctuate with whatever the temperature is in the environment around them. Since they're not metabolizing constantly to keep their body temperature at the same level all the time, it allows them to survive for a few months without eating anything at all. That means they don't have a lot of energy to waste, so they are kind of sedentary like that for most of their lives. But they do move around from time to time, I promise.
You don't like this? What do you got to do, Christopher?
They are so cool. And when you're thinking about crocodiles, what comes to mind is probably things like predators and strong jaws, and that is definitely the case. They have a bite force of 2,000 pounds per square inch of their jaw, whereas humans have 200 psi, so pretty big difference. But what I find most amazing about them is how gentle they can be with that force. You guys know, crocodiles carry their babies in their mouths and will even roll their eggs in their mouths to break them open, make sure their babies get out safe. It's pretty adorable. Who would have thought a crocodile makes such a good parent? Fantastic. We made it out of the forest. Let's head out to the savannah. See what's going on down here. I see a couple of my personal favorite animals on the reserve. There's a cow-looking thing with really big horns. It's an Ankoli cattle. Oh, look at her horns. Is she not just beautiful?
Oh, wow.
They're huge. Holy cow. They are a lot lighter weight than you would expect. They're mostly hollow, so they're not too bad. Not too bad. And they're packed full of blood vessels that will help them regulate their body temperature. It's awesome. And there's some little tiny antelope right there next to the warden's truck. Those are called springbok. They get the name springbok because they can jump high enough and far enough that if they wanted to, they could jump through this truck to the other side. Hasn't happened yet, but you never know. Got some more beautiful cattle out here. These horns are just a spectacular adaptation. Inside of those horns is a network of blood vessels. When they get too hot, their blood pumps through their horns, keeps them cool. On the flip side, if it's really cold, like it is right now, those blood vessels are contracting and they are just allowing that blood to cycle through the animal's body. And there's a special organ in its stomach called a rumen, heating up its blood to keep it warm. So cool. They can survive in some of the most extreme temperatures, and that is what makes them such a good domesticated animal. You can pretty much take them anywhere on the continent. That big brown one is crazy. Horns are so big. Oh my gosh, there's a hyena on the left. Oh, okay, there's two. Okay, there's one stretching in the den, and that one out to the right. Wow. Oh, hyenas are amazing animals. I love them because they are kind of a zero waste animal if you think about it. They're kind of the pinnacle of conservation. A lot of times...
Is that the hyena? Yeah.
Yes.
That's the hyena. Christopher, that's the hyena. Yeah.
Oh, what an awesome vocalization! You hardly ever get to hear that. That is so cool. Alright, I'll circle back to hyenas if we get the chance, but I know we are all very excited because there are some baby giraffes on the left. So 3 babies and one of their moms hanging out there, doing what they do best, eating. They eat for 80% of their day. Living the dream. It's a good thing they have 4 stomachs. And they are quite well equipped for eating. If that mom giraffe is 18 feet tall, that means her tongue is 18 inches long. So it is proportional, which is very fun. Just like the okapi we saw in the forest, that long tongue. And of course that long neck is pretty beneficial too. There are the exact same number of bones in their neck as there are in yours. Both have 7 vertebrae in there. But since their neck is so long, their heart has to be incredibly powerful to pump blood up the neck to get to their brain. And as it turns out, they have the biggest heart of any animal that lives on land. It's huge. It's 27 pounds, 2.5 feet long, even bigger than an elephant's heart. Another great view of these little springbok on the right. I just love their color. They look like little s'mores on the legs. They're adorable. Alright, Sister Fab, Springbok. Oh yeah, I just want to put out about those hyenas. A lot of people are thinking about, oh, hyenas, scavengers, all that good stuff. They actually do catch their own prey. We just like to think of them as scavengers because we see them eating every part of the animal. They have strong enough jaws to eat bone and hooves and horns and everything. So they are really zero waste. They will eat every single part and they use all those resources, which is super cool. So a bunch of these beautiful wildebeest on the right side, very much herd oriented, as you can tell. What's really fun about them, oh my gosh, wait, look at this one. It is digging out a nice little hole to go to bed in. Making a comfy little bed.
He's digging.
A lot of times they'll do that because it's just a little bit warmer down there, and also laying in dirt is a great way to make sure that their skin stays protected against mites and parasites and all that kind of yucky stuff. So that is super fun. But they love to form what's called a mixed herd with other animals. The springbok, the giraffe, they're very good at recognizing warning signals and calls that other animals have. So something like, ooh, say these giraffes on the left, let's say they spotted those hyenas before the wildebeest. The wildebeest would be able to recognize that warning signal and they would be alerted faster than they ever would without the giraffes. Wow, look at all of them. So there are a couple more mamas, another baby. I see dad giraffe over there. Mama giraffes, exactly. So we might be thinking, well, it's nighttime, it's getting cold, it's getting dark. Probably about time for those giraffes to go to bed, but that is actually not the case. They only sleep for 30 minutes a day. I know, and that's it, not even all at once. It's kind of a power nap here and there, standing up most of the time. Doesn't take much to keep them well rested, and leaves time for the more important things like eating. Okay, so pretty good luck up north. There is just another watering hole up here I want to check out. Flamingos. Okay, this is the best behavior ever. The ones that are standing on the island, they're walking around and they're moving their head back and forth. That's called head flagging. It's something that the boys do to impress the ladies. The ladies don't look that impressed. They're eating, but they're doing their best. That is so fun. Sometimes they'll hold out their wings and shake them in a winged salute. It's amazing. They're so fun. These flamingos, they are not super pink. That's just because there are 6 different types of flamingo. This one is the biggest, but the palest pink as well. So you do see quite a bit of variance among them. And regardless of species, they all turn pink because they eat shrimp. That is true. Not quite the same shrimp as humans eat. It's tiny. It's called brine shrimp. It's packed full of a protein called beta-carotene. That is what gives them the color. Before they turn pink, this is what I find really interesting. They're actually white for about 1.5 years. Well, if they're not eating shrimp, what are they eating? They actually drink milk from their parents. That sounds very bizarre because they're birds. Birds don't make milk unless you are a flamingo. And one of 3% of all birds that will produce something called crop milk in their throats, an organ in their throats, the lining of it. They'll feed to their babies for 1.5 years. So they're going to be white, and before that they are gray. They're super fluffy when they first hatch. So they go through a fabulous color transformation. Off on our right hand side are some very cute antelope called waterbuck. They have little heart-shaped noses. And as their name, waterbuck, suggests they like water a lot. They are going to secrete this thick, oily substance to keep their coat dry. And lucky for them, that oil is also very stinky. So not many predators like to predate on a waterbuck. And that's good news because we are headed into predator territory. Now keep your eyes out. Let me know if you see anything. Let's see, looking a little bit quiet over here. Might want to head around to the Kobe Rocks. It's the highest point on the savannah, and they soak up tons of heat from the sun, so they're nice and toasty. Oh, yep, there is a lion up here. Okay, left side. So there's the male here, and then there's a female kind of on the other side. Oh, I think there's actually two females over there. Hopefully we'll be able to see them as we pull around. But wow, look at him. Not super active, just resting a little bit. Oh, wait, look at her. Circle of life. That went from aw to real quick. Let's see. I think there's another female on that side. Yeah, awesome. So most lion activity is the middle of the night. They are definitely nocturnal predators. The male, he's gonna stick around. He's just gonna protect his territory. The female lioness do all of the hunting. And honestly, they are not the most successful predators. If she goes hunting 15 times on average, she will only catch something one of those times. So they don't actually eat very often. Conserving their energy is very important, which means they sleep 20 hours a day. Every day. It's kind of crazy. If the average lion lives 20 years, by the end of their life, they've only been awake for 3 years of it. That's a 17-year nap. Refreshing.
Yeah,
It's so cool. And lions are, oh wait, there's this waterbuck again. What's up, guys?
Hey, come back.
Lions are really spectacular animals to see today, and they are animals that really can use our help. In the last 100 years, their populations have decreased from 200,000 to less than 20,000. But it's really not too late to turn that around, and we are actually coming up with some really cool stuff right here on the reserve, watching these animals' behavior and learning more about how we can protect wildlife on a global scale. A part of protecting wildlife with lions is just making sure that they can live peacefully with the people in their area. If you are a cattle farmer and lions keep breaking in and eating your cattle, you're probably not going to be too happy with them, and a lot of that is what ends up with lion poaching, not so good. So if we know better how to track these animals, how we can teach these communities how to move their cattle in a way that will protect them against the lions, those lions are, in the end, are going to end up safe as well. So kind of finding peace and harmony in those communities is a really important project we are working on right now. But a lot of lion protection also has to do with habitat protection as well, making sure they have a lot of habitat left to live in. And that is something that, believe it or not, you can help out with right from home. making sure that you are using reusable products when you can, cutting back on your waste, buying sustainably sourced, even just supporting conservation projects either through donations or sharing information through social media. Those are all small steps we can take on a daily basis that will really add up to protect these animals and the wild places that they call home. It really is as easy as that. And just by visiting us in Animal Kingdom today, you've already helped to support an amazing conservation project called Protect the Pride, where our goal is to double the global population of lions by 2050. It's a pretty lofty goal, but I definitely think we can do it, especially support from people just like you. So thank you so much for coming on out to visit us this evening. I hope you guys got to see some fun stuff out there. I definitely enjoyed having y'all on board. Check those rows around you. Make sure you don't leave anything behind. And once again, it's been a pleasure. If you have any questions for me, feel free to come right on up here to my window. If not, though, Kwa Harini is what I will leave you with. That means go well. So go well, go wild, enjoy your visit to Harambe or wherever your adventures may take you.